And I know a big and I know that this may, and I know that. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 5 of Done Better. And today is a very special episode because we aren't just doing a film, we're doing a trilogy.
I love you!
No, not that trilogy. This is only episode 5, you gotta give me more time to fix that one, you fucks. Anyway, how are 3 things gonna fix 3 films? Well, the answer is that they all suffer from the same problem, so I only have to fix 3 things and it applies across the board. What's wrong with the Expendables?
I heard another rumor that you were bitten by a king cobra.
Yeah, I was. But after 5 days of agonizing pain, the Cobra died. Sorry. Moving on.
So, even though it starts out a little less potent in the first Expendables movie, the nudginess and the winkiness and the self-awareness of the series gets pretty tired pretty fast, to the point where there was often just dead silence in the theater when I watched number 2. Their jokes sucked.
By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you man and knife.
Also, this movie tries and fails to set up every single character that they have. And the roster of characters seems to triple after the end of every credit sequence.
What?
You really should learn how to fight.
Also, I don't know if you know this, but these movies don't actually have a point. And I know what you're thinking, dumb action movies don't need a point. Yeah, they do. They actually do need a point. The trilogy actually tries to set up morals, but usually in the last 5 to 10 minutes, they actually end up nullifying that. Which means that they say nothing. Well, more nothing than the words that come out of Sly's firm lips.
One more! Wretches, pieces.
Alrighty, so let's fix the Expendables. Number 1, don't tame the Cobra. That is not a penis joke. Well, now it is. Thanks, everybody. Number 2, Sly's consistent soldiers. It's a character extravaganza, so let's actually make some characters. And number 3, let's stick the landing.
You're not doing what I think you're doing!
Yeah, I am.
Let's do it!
Let's actually say something with this film. It'd be great to have, you know, like a moral. We all can't be Titanic and have no moral. Wait, what? What about Titanic? Oh, you telling me Titanic did have moral?
You never saw Titanic?
Holy shit, there's actually somebody there this time. In 1986, a spectacular film came out called Cobra. For those of you unaware, it was somewhat of a passion project for Sly, or maybe a money grab, or a classic passion grab scenario. Basically, Sly's bloody hands were all over this film. He wrote the screenplay, his at-the-time wife actually starred in it with him, Bridget Nielsen, and it turns out that he actually directed the thing. Even though he's not credited as doing so, apparently he was a dick and kind of took it over.
A murder every 24 minutes. And 250 rapes a day.
My point about this movie is, it was awful, beautifully awful, ridiculous and silly and insane and crazy, and it was so intended to blow our collective 80s action balls off that it failed in the most beautiful way, and I love it. So why bring this up? No reason. I'm kidding, there's obviously a reason. We're doing a bit, we're doing the whole thing, we're talking about stuff. Anyway, my point is, what happened with Cobra should have happened to this trilogy. Sly should have just embraced the initial ridiculousness of his concept and just fucking run with it. Because believe it or not, Cobra came about because while Sly was originally on Beverly Hills Cop, he was gonna be the star, he ended up rewriting the screenplay and putting all this shit in and turning it into an action extravaganza, and the studio said, no, we can't fucking afford that. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna go off and I'm gonna do all that stuff and I'm gonna make my own movie. It's gonna be called Cobra, and I'm gonna put a matchstick in my mouth and be awesome, and for some reason my character trait is to cut slices of pizza with a pair of scissors, because I'm passionate about this. So obviously the Expendables was intended to be some sort of callback to 80s action flicks like Cobra, but it actually failed in that regard, and these movies were less of like, let's make an 80s action movie that's fucking awesome, and more like, remember when we made 80s action films? Wasn't that cool?
I'll be back.
Look at, remember the thing?
I'll be back.
Remember you said, get to the chopper, and I was like,
Think you in a time warp, man.
And then they do a bunch of side ribbing and we're wink facing each other and we're like,
If you had done that to me, I would have chopped you into pieces.
Remember when we were,
Yippee-ki-yay.
do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember when we were in the 80s?
Get to the chopper!
And we did 80s action flicks?
And we said these lines. Do you remember?
So it gets worse as the movies go along, but the best example of kind of Sly embracing this idea happens in the first one. Scenes like Statham fighting his girlfriend's new lover.
Shouldn't have bruised her face.
Really?
Would have liked to have kept it the way it was.
Keep the bitch, because I'm done with it.
Or Mickey Rourke's epic fucking speech in the middle of that fucking parlor where he's like painting the guitar and getting all deep and shit.
If I'd have saved that woman, I might have, I don't know, saved what was left of my soul, you know?
I miss her so much. We just used to like hold each other. I was supposed to take care of her. She was my little girl, you know.
And does it add like depth to the film? The answer is yes. Does it do it in a silly way? The answer is yes. And yeah, they're cheesy, but they're cheesy with passion, and that's kind of the difference. So basically, if the creative team had actually said, you know what, fuck those other 80s action flicks, we're just gonna go out and make a good movie, it would have been awesome. I mean, we've seen what happens when Sly sets out to make a great film. We get something awesome like this.
It's bad for your health, you know?
What is pinche?
Me. Clean up your act.
Or we get something awesome like this.
When you're pushed, killing's as easy as breathing.
Or we get something awesome like that. And I know that this first fix is a little bit broad, but I think if we actually apply this with our second fix here, they can work in tandem to make it better. So in a film with this many characters, the best thing you can do is give each character a strong character trait and attributes, even if they're a little cliche. But this trilogy seems to have the "you're up" syndrome, which is where a screenwriter just takes a big chunk of exposition, splits it up between all the characters in the room, and then makes them say line by line so that it all feels like they have a reason to be there. This obviously doesn't make for very good characters, and it actually creates kind of a paint-by-numbers storyline. The first Expendables actually tries to dish out these character traits, but it actually kind of forgets that it does it in the first place, or just kind of ignores them after it gives them out. For example, in movie number 1, they gave Randy Couture the attribute of "you're a smarter guy, you're smarter than the rest of us." He's reading the book on the plane, he kind of does that shit. When does that ever pay off? The answer is never. In number 2, out of nowhere, they decide that Dolph Lundgren's character is some sort of bizarre, like, explosive scientist. But then when the payoff is supposed to happen, that actually just kind of fizzles out, just like the bomb. That was a joke. You see how I connected the two things there? They actually failed at that setup because, again, that never comes back into play. Hell, even Sly suffers from this problem. Why does he retire his original Expendables team in number 3? Because he doesn't want to watch his friends die around him. So he goes out on a 30-minute montage through the desert and around the world with Kelsey Grammer, no less, to go find a bunch of youngsters that he can just not care about. Then he immediately cares about them. It's weird, and it's especially weird because his character, Barney Ross, is set up from the very beginning to care about people. So why would he go on this globe trek to sacrifice these people in the first place? The answer is bad writing. Sly.
And a blue Corvette, and everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around, cause he ain't got nobody to this end.
Again, this really isn't that hard, penis joke, even if you apply simple traits like he's the assassin, he's the quiet one, he's a renegade, he's an asshole. This is all better than nothing. And I know that a lot of this problem stems from the fact that Sly didn't know who was gonna be whom on what day and where. But this relates back to my first problem. Don't set out to like craft a movie in post or while you're shooting, set out to make a good movie. And by the way, there are plenty of films that have really good examples of taking a lot of characters and making this work. They had plenty of awesome actors and awesome action stars that could pull off these individual roles if they were just simply given the opportunity, and they weren't.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping.
So if we actually take these films and kind of boil down all the components of what it's trying to say, we all reach one tiny drop, and that is Sly's character Barney Ross, deep down, even though he's a murderous mercenary, actually cares about people and will ultimately do what's right. Whether that's murdering an entire island full of people just to save one woman he doesn't know, or murdering an entire army of people because the shitty Hemsworth brother got stabbed in the heart, or murdering an army of people because... does it matter? I mean, look at Rambo 4. That was bloody, ridiculous insanity. And at the very center of it, the moral was basically, don't get involved.
And then they come back in a rainstorm. This time, he says, nope, go home. They go home again. Bottom line, they go upriver. Does not go well.
Which, if you think about it, for an action flick like that, is pretty awesome. What's the one for the Expendables? A movie called The Expendables? Well, at the very center of that moral is, care about your friends, care about your friends. That's the moral of a movie called The Expendables. So, how do we fix these movies? How do we give it a sweet moral that would drive the rest of the film? I'll give you a hint. It's in the title, Expendable. What if these were actual mercenaries that were hired and were basically tools in a belt? What if they were killed and nobody cared? What if Barney had to watch everyone he cared about kind of being picked off? Well, it would be depressing, but it would also be really cool to watch that character have to go through that situation. What if he was actually putting these people and these people he cared about in danger? They try for that, but never follow through. By movie 3, death is literally nothing to anyone. I mean, look at this. They should all just be blowing each other as they fly off into the sunset.
Let's get down to business. You guys aren't gonna start sucking each other's dicks, are you? Thanks.
So, what if the moral of these films was simply everybody is expendable? Think about how much that would have changed these films entirely. Did you get chills? I got chills. But that's kind of more of the visual image of Sly and Arnold blowing each other as they went off into the sunset more than anything else.
Well, where's the proof? Nice. A little extreme, but nice.
Alrighty, so that's about it. If we make those changes, we might just be able to save a franchise. You know, be a little bit more finagling and writing than normal on these things, but I think if you fix its core and kind of make those characters stronger, then you're gonna make something work. But before we go, let's talk about our little bits and pieces we can change to this to make it much better overall. And this time I only have 2. If you're gonna keep in your dumbass jokes and references, then fucking fully embrace them.
Why is it the one of us who wants to live the most, who deserves to live the most, dies? And the ones that deserve to die keep on living. What's the message in that?
And finally, if you're gonna force this many cameos into all of these films, don't stop. Keep adding them in there. Add as many as you fucking can. That would be great.
You know, sometimes it feels like we fill that void between us with something that grows slowly, like it's overtaking us or something.
I just like keeping a distance.
Sometimes it gets heavier. You know?
Let's just say bad things have happened to people I've gotten close to.
The rules are being broken here.
I know.
We're surrounded by forms. Yet it's still so elusive, right?
All the time.
I don't know, man. Who makes that choice? Who's pretending to be who?
No, that's how we deal with death. Can't change what is, so we keep it light until it's time to get dark. And then we get pitch black. Understand?
I can't speak. I'm dumb. I'm the dumbest. Shia talks. We're pretending to talk to a you that doesn't exist yet, but what's really going on here? Stop giving up.
Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was a little more complicated for me, but I think I may have knocked it out of the park. And if I didn't, you let me know, and I'll just like delete your comment or something, or just like dislike it and shit. Because that's what I have. I have the power. This is my channel. You fuck.